Well, hello. I'm Sue Hutchins, and this is Iowa Prison Perspectives. I want to welcome you today. If this is your first time here, let me give you a little bit of information about what we're doing and the reason for this series. This is a collaboration between the Iowa Justice Action Network, Living Beyond the Bars of Iowa, and Iowa Cure. And our purpose is to inform the public from all different perspectives of what the prison system is like in Iowa. I'm interviewing people who have been incarcerated, people who have loved ones who are incarcerated, people who have worked in the prison system previously for the Department of Corrections, and other people like myself who are advocates for some kind of prison reform and for letting the public know what the prison system in Iowa actually is like. If you want to get in touch with me because you agree with what we're saying, or you don't agree with what we're saying, or you feel like you have something that needs to be said, or you know somebody who you think ought to be interviewed for this series, please contact me. I can be reached at iowaprisonperspectives@gmail.com. And that's iaprisonperspectives@gmail.com. One of the reasons that I got interested in the prison system in Iowa is because I worked for the Federal Bureau of Prisons in New Mexico prior to coming back home to Iowa. And that's where my real interest started. When I returned to Iowa, I returned retired, but I quickly got interested in the whole idea of mass incarceration and what I believe is the injustice of mass incarceration and the disproportionality of people of color who are incarcerated compared to Caucasian people like myself. I really believe that we are doing a disservice to a great culture of people, as well as to our society in general, with mass incarceration. And I think the war on drugs has been an enormous failure, and the disparity is unbelievably unjust. Today, I'm going to be interviewing an African American male who has done time in prison and has made a success of his life, now has a podcast, and his perspective lends new information for those of you who are listening. So, with that, I want to welcome Arnold and turn it over to him. Please listen to what he has to say and comment if you will. Thank you very much for being here. And thank you, Arnold, for being here today.
Thank you so much. Well, my name is Arnold Grice. I did about 14 years and 8 months inside the Iowa Department of Corrections. My charge was a 35-year sentence for delivery of cocaine to a minor and sex abuse third. Um, Iowa does not have a defense law, so one of the things that happened in my case, we were partying at a hotel. And unfortunately, one of the people in the hotel rooms was a minor and admitted once we had got arrested that they lied about their age. But Iowa does not have a defense law. And so me and a co-defendant, we had to go to prison. Um, Doing 14 years inside of the Iowa Department of Corrections is hard, but if I could, I would just like to back up and just talk about a few things that you spoke about, Sue, as far as the disparity when it comes to like African Americans and those who are less fortunate financially, to get a lawyer. And so I think one of the biggest problems that we're dealing with is that number one, prosecuting attorneys, they want a prosecution, so it doesn't really matter, you know, what the facts of the law is or the law, because they will twist and bend the laws to get that prosecution, if need be, a conviction. That's what they basically looking for. They're looking for a conviction. And there were so many things that went wrong in my case. Like, for instance, according to the law, I was locked up illegally 14 years and 3 months due to a conflict of interest. It has all been overlooked. And I think is because, one, I am Black in America, and then the person of interest that's in my case was a young white lady, you know what I mean? And at the time, a white minor. And so I think that that played a part with judges looking at the case, looking at the laws, and looking at the different things that was happening. I was actually being prosecuted under a conflict of interest, and the case should have been dismissed. However, they didn't do it. They wanted to get that conviction, and so I was sent there. Um, Now, once you get to the Iowa Department of, I mean, once you get to the Iowa Department of Corrections, it's different, you know. A lot of the things that you said ring so true as far as like color and those that are not financially stable, because number one, you have to, before you get to the department, if you don't have money to or the means to get an attorney, then you'll have to get a public defender. And I hate this name, but one of the names that they call public defenders is public pretenders. And I don't like to use the name because I know what's going on. They have so many cases that they're dealing with that it's absolutely hard to like kind of like spend so much time and actually fight each and individual case. And so if you don't have any money, then you're gonna have to get a public defender. And to tell you the truth, they listen to you, and then it's just like, okay, it comes into a trading or a swapping. We've come accustomed to understanding that, okay, prosecuting attorneys and public defenders, they might do this thing where they swap out. Well, if you give me this guy, then I'll give you this guy. And we've seen it happen. We've seen certain people who didn't deserve justice get a pass, might get probation or get parole, whereas a person who should have got probation or parole go and get 5 years versus 10 years. And so we have to deal with that, and that's the heartache. And now let's fast forward back to when you get to the Iowa Medical Classification Center, which is Oakdale.
If I could interrupt you for just 1 second, Arnold. My daughter was a public defender here in Iowa in 3 different counties, and they were told in the office that their job was to get the best plea bargain that they could get for their person, not to go to court, not to make motions, but to get the best plea bargain that they could. She's
Right.
also been a district attorney in another state, and their goal is to win cases. They
Hmm.
don't want to take it to court unless they're going to win because the district attorney is elected. And
Right.
the more cases that they win, the better the chance for reelection is. So I just want to throw that in with what you're saying.
Yeah.
Um, it's and prosecutorial discretion. Prosecutors can decide, and they can add cases. They can add charges on, add charges on, add charges on, and then they can say, well, we'll take this away, we'll take this away, we'll take this away if you'll take this plea.
Right.
So the idea of getting everybody having the right to a fair trial
Right. It's
is
not.
really discouraged by the system. I just want to add that because I don't think the public is aware of that. And
Right.
this is, I just don't think the public is aware of that. And frankly, that happens a lot more to people of color and poor people than it happens to Caucasians.
Exactly. And just to piggyback right off of what you said, which is absolutely right. We don't necessarily have that knowledge of behind the scenes of saying, hey, get the best plea bargain you can get. But in our hearts, we know it, because the thing that they'll do, like say for instance, I'll give you an example in my case. They was charging us with sex abuse third, sex abuse second, and delivery of cocaine to a minor. Well, when they went in the room, all the evidence supported that my co-defendant was the one who had sex with this minor. And but just so happened, me and my mother, we had a lawsuit pending against a prosecuting attorney by the name of Davis. And so he was mad about that. So what he did is he threw his assistant attorney on my case. And so once she didn't have the evidence, you know, for that supported sex abuse or that I had sex with this person, then all of a sudden she charged me with kidnapping first degree. You know what I mean? And so what she did is she said, okay, well, let's throw this charge on there. And then, you know, like you said, now get the best plea bargain out of him. Because who wants to go to court and fight kidnapping first degree? It carries life. And one of
Exactly.
the things that you talked about from the beginning, remember you said you wanted to do away, that you was hoping I would do away with the life without the possibility of parole. We know that if you go to prison in Iowa with life, 9 times out of 10, you're not coming home. A very small percent of people get their cases overturned and come home, but you have to go back through the legal system and get it overturned. There is no second chance for you. And so immediately, my co-defendant, he said, "Hey, I ain't going to trial for kidnapping first degree." He had just had a 6-month-old baby, and he was just
Mhm.
like, "What the heck did we get into? We was just in a hotel room partying. Okay, the girl lied about her age. She admitted it. You guys don't have a defense law that she can just lie and get away with it. No consequences to her or her family whatsoever. They go back to normal. We got to go to jail. But now, if we don't take the plea to sex abuse third, she literally told us, if you do not take the plea today at pretrial conference, we're not going to trial on Monday. I'm going to refile with kidnapping first degree." And I said, "How is this possible?" And they said, "Well, she could charge you with whatever she wants to." Well, according to the law, she has 45 days to charge anything. So what she basically did is violating my rights again, is she
Mhm.
dismissed the original case and recharged me. Now, since I didn't waive my rights to a speedy trial, remember I was telling you that I
Mhm.
did 14 years and 3 months illegally. They lost because the whole time she was prosecuting me was under a conflict of interest. So when she dismissed the case and refiled kidnapping first degree, Iowa lost because according to the law, she was not able to to file trial information against me under a conflict of interest. So therefore, you can't prosecute my case. So you can't dismiss a case and then refile charges. That's a whole and total prosecution. So under a conflict of interest, it violates my rights of due process, which means that the case cannot stand. So the trial information that I was went sent to prison on is illegal. But I would, again, doesn't want to do anything about it. They
Right.
absolutely don't want to do anything about it. Now, when you get to the DOC,
And a really interesting point that you made that I want to emphasize is nothing happened to this young lady.
nothing.
Nothing. And that happens, unfortunately, and the public is not aware of how many times that happens.
I mean, and I got the deposition suit where she tells
Right.
them, my attorney says, "So did you ever tell him?" Oh no, he says, "So why did you tell them that you were 17?" And she says, "Oh my God." She says, "Because I knew that they had cocaine in the room. And I knew that if I'd have told them I was 14 at the time, they wouldn't have let me in the hotel room." You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And so
Exactly.
so he says, "So you were after the cocaine?" And she says, "Yeah." And he says, "Okay. Now be it, we might have would have got in trouble because it was my hotel room. It was in my name. And at that time, I was partying and I did have drugs in the room. Now, I would have got in trouble for that. But you notice that she knew the proper age to say while she was
Right.
out there. She was saying that she was 17. So that
Right.
means that if a person is 4 years older than them, then they're automatically 21. So you don't get the statutory rape of sex abuse. You see what I'm
Right.
saying? And
I
so she
do.
knew exactly what to say and she knew what to do. But like we said, Iowa doesn't have a defense law, so you're guilty for that. Now, say I would have just got the delivery of cocaine to a minor, which would have been 25 years. If I would have pleaded out to the 10 years of saying, okay, the room was in my name, even let's say
Uh-huh.
she stole the drugs, but let's just say, okay, that was the only charge. You would have
Mhm.
offered me a plea of 10 years and you could have possibly went down to 5 years. I could
Right.
have did 18 months in drug treatment and would have been home.
Right.
But instead, I wound up doing 14 years and 8 months because when you put the sex abuse with it and then run it consecutive with the drug charge, I had to discharge the drug quarter first, which was 12 and a half years, and then start on the 10. So now you just snatched me out of society for a decade and a half, because a
And
person.
labeled you as a sex offender.
Exactly.
And she
When you know.
got nothing.
Yeah,
Nothing happened to
and
her.
you knew the evidence pointed to my co-defendant.
Right.
But what you basically did is you charged us with kidnapping first degree, scared him to take the plea to sex abuse first, turned
Right.
around 4 months later and took his evidence and put it on me. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Went back and
Mhm.
and we got arrested March 30th of 2007. They said a condom came in August the 31st and it had partials of my DNA in it. And I'm thinking to myself, well, my 90-day trial would have been June the 25th. So guess what? If a condom comes in August the 31st, that's outside of my 90 days to a speedy trial. So you didn't have that information. Where was that
Mhm.
information at? Even if it was mine, we knew it wasn't mine, but it's just like, okay, you got him to take a plea. The police officers went in there. The condom wrapper's got his fingerprints on them. It's only one condom used out of a box of three. The wrapper has his fingerprints on it. But now that he's taken the plea in July, you telling me in August that the condom belonged to me? It's like, I well, come on, you got to stop. You got to.
Mm.
It's like that's a common sense thing right there. I'm not a lawyer, but that's common sense. You got to stop. Nobody get received a condom at the DCI lab August the 31st, and then September the 7th. Now all of a sudden it's in evidence that this condom belonged to me. When you went inside the hotel room March 27th of 2007, I get arrested March 30th, and it took you that long to figure out if you know what I mean? And it
I do.
hurts. It hurts. And there's nothing you can do because, and I mean, I had a father who hired an attorney, and unfortunately, he was an intern for the prosecuting attorney that me and my mom had a lawsuit against. And so what he wound up doing is he took the conflict of interest that issue and he buried it. He didn't raise it in the proper courts, and they have a thing called the 3 year statute of limitations. And he buried my issue, and now it's so hard for me to get back in the courts and stuff like that. And to the fact that you said that nothing's happened to her, I was at a store and I seen her. I mean, can't speak to her, but I seen her. You know, and life just goes on for you. And here I am struggling. I just did a decade and a half. I'm out and I still have to go down and see a parole officer. I'm still having to go see a parole officer. Um, I just had a guy, another unfortunate thing, arrest me for failure to register my vehicle. And come to find out that this man himself, he was working for the Scott County Sheriff's Department. He was arresting guys, falsifying documents, and saying that we weren't handling our business. But in turn, he was the one having sex with a sex offender. And to cover her up, he was arresting us with false charges. And so that just happened last year. And so I had to bond out for 2,000, lost the $2,000. He didn't show up to court, so they dismissed the failure to register. But I lost 2,000. And so I'm steadily going through things where I'm trying to get my CDLs, can't get them because I'm on the sex offender registry.
Mhm.
Um, Banker's Life hired me and put me through school for life insurance. Did everything on the computer, the online courses, went out to Black Hawk College in Moline, Illinois, and aced the life insurance test and went to get bonded in Des Moines and couldn't get bonded because I'm a sex offender, and so
Mhm.
you trying, but you losing. You know what I
It just
mean?
follows you and follows you
It
and
fo-
follows.
and it's steadily beating you over the head, beating you over the head. And the only thing that can ring true in my head, because I keep it in my phone. Yes, I lied about my age because I knew if I'd have told them that I was 14, they wouldn't have never let me in a hotel room. And then some back history on her. She had already been 90 days inpatient treatment for cocaine in Cedar Rapids and 30 days in Ames, Iowa. She had an uncle who was, turning her on to drugs back when she was like 12 years old. And he was the
Mhm.
one that was abusing her. And so since she was big for her age, like 5'8", 180 pounds, at 14, she was able to go inside a store and buy like cigarettes because she looked that mature.
Sure.
She was using her size and lying about her age just to hang out with guys and, party. And then when the party is over with, she goes back to her life. Well, they kidnapped me. They told me I couldn't go home. We go to jail, she go back home, and then next thing you know, life continues for her. But it didn't continue for us, you know. I lost my father when I was in prison. I lost my brother while I was in prison.
I
My grandfather, a host of cousins. You know what I mean? And it's like you can't make it up. The pain and the hurt. Not making it to your daughter's graduation or missing the first time that she goes on a date, her first homecoming, missing her prom. you know.
Mhm.
So it's a pain that you can't get, I mean, you can't get over it, I mean, it beats you up in your dreams. When you
Mm,
sleep, you sleep this because you want it to be over, but it's never over,
not
it's
over.
never over. Yeah. So, would you like me to fast forward and talk about prison a little bit?
Yes, yes, and
Okay.
thank you for sharing that. People need to know that. So
Yeah.
thank you very much
Yeah.
for
And
sharing.
so, yeah, the legal system, and I'll speak for Scott County, is so corrupt on so many different levels. So many people working with each other and judges that turn their backs on cases and laws and stuff because they know and watch one person's back, help him out over here and turn your back on this. And it's like that. And when you get to the Department of Corrections, is first segregated by different communities, whether it's the Hispanic community, which call themselves essays, the Caucasian community, it can either be Fries or Peckerwoods, and that just means that they're clicked up. And most of the black uh communities that's in prison, it usually goes, they call it faux city or no city. And what that means is like you're either from Des Moines, which is the capital of Iowa, you're from Iowa City, Cedar Rapids is together. That's conformed as one. And then you have Waterloo, and then you have Davenport. Those are the four biggest counties and cities and towns in the state of Iowa. So if you come into the prison system, you have to be with one of them. Okay, well, we're from the Quad Cities. Okay, we're Iowa City, Cedar Rapids. We're Waterloo. We're Des Moines. And so everybody is clicked up. Now, there are gangs, whether it be vice lords, gangsters, Bloods, or Crips. All of that is okay. And whether you're from Chicago, all of that is okay. But the rule is for city or no city. So that means that I don't care. I was into church. I'm a firm believer. My father was a pastor, and when it all hit rock bottom, I just wanted to go to church, and I just wanted to just get myself together and work on me. So I stayed out of gang politics, yard politics, gambling, anything like that. I didn't want any parts of it. I figured this is going to be the time where I'm going to get myself together. But according to the four city or no city rule, if the Quad City would have had a yard fight with Des Moines, Waterloo, Iowa City, or Cedar Rapids, I would have had to personally be involved, or either they would get me. So it's like
Mhm.
if you don't fight, then we're gonna fight you. And just because we are into it with Des Moines, I don't care. If they have a problem with the Quad Cities, they might just beat you up anyway. So when you come into prison, you got that hanging over your head. And so you have to get that together. Number one, if you're a sex offender, you're not allowed in certain rooms. You're not around Serranios, which is the Hispanic gangs. They they won't bunk with a sex offender. It's against their laws. So there's politics where okay, you have to get out of the room, or they'll get out of the room with you, and so that's one of the things that you got hanging over your head. Um, and you're treated different with that tag, with a SO tag on your head, you know what I mean? Officers treat you different, the jobs treat you
Mhm.
different, you know what I mean? Especially because only thing that they get to do is they get to read what you're here for, how old your
Mhm.
victim was and what happened. They don't get
Mhm.
a chance to hear both sides of the story. They don't know whether it's true or not. One of the good things about me is that, and I don't brag on this, but it was good when I went into prison, is that when I was in the street, I was a drug dealer and I had a decent amounts of money. I threw big parties. I had nice cars, and I was very popular for having women, you know what I mean? Like beautiful women. So um there was no need for me to date a minor or to even go after a minor. It was not even that type of party. Just we was partying. She wanted to come in the room and she was hanging out, and that was it. It was nothing more to it, nothing less. And unfortunately, it went the wrong way. But my street credit followed me to prison. And so when every time I would come to prison, it would be, that's Bear, that's my man. Like, man, he ain't no sex offender, bro. And bet nobody put their hands on him. I had people literally be like, listen, when he hit the yard, leave him alone. You dig what I'm saying? And that was a beautiful thing because I had people that was are in certain prisons, and what they call it is, okay, you would know about a prison before you get there. Okay, on the bus, who was holding the prison down for like certain gangs or certain cliques? The
Sure.
Peckerwoods knew who had it for Anamosa, who the Hispanic person was for Anamosa, and who
Right.
it was for like the black population. Because soon as you come through the door, you have to go to orientation for like a week and a half, and they would send messengers over there. So while you're
Mhm.
going out and going through classification, it would already be on the. It's funny too because Sue, when you come up on the bus, it pulls all the way on the inside of Anamosa, and when you get off. You have to go into clothing and then they give you a bag of clothing. So there's a line of people that's on the yard and they staring at the bus to see who gets off. And it's like they trying to figure out, do they know you? Like, okay, who's coming in? And then they go back and they tell everybody and they say, hey, Bear just got off
Mhm.
the bus. Bear just came in from Oakdale. So when I go to classification, my guys that's from the Quad Cities, they send somebody over there and say, hey, what's the name
Mhm.
told me to tell you what's up. They said, do you need any coffee? You got envelopes, you got soap, you need anything. And then that's how they do you. They hit you with a care package. And so
Mhm.
they sent for me, man, and they was just like, hey, let him know. So as you're going through the chow hall, they tell you don't talk to anybody, and you're walking in a line with everybody that's coming through for classification. But everybody's like, hey, let me know when you touch down. And it's like, I was well known for being a barber. So every time I would go to a camp, they'd be like, Bear is here, man. Get him in the barbershop. Tell him the man, hey, go talk to Sergeant such and such and say Bear is here. We need him in the barbershop. That's the best barber on the yard. And so it was a blessing for me to go to like different places. I didn't catch it being a sex offender. So I said all of that to just say, for me, it was different because of my street credit and just, the way I carried myself in prison and being able to cut hair. They treated me different. When I got to a
Mhm.
prison, I was blessed and I thank God for it, that he had his
Right.
favor on me because it gave me a chance to go to college. It gave me a chance to pick up trades and stuff like that. And even though
Mhm.
I wasn't gang banging or into drugs, doing drugs, because it's in there, sex is in there. I just
Yeah.
decided that I was going to take this time and I was going to get me together. And so I was fortunate to do that. But I got to tell you, if you're not financially stable, it's bad for you. Um,
Mhm.
I will say that you do have some very awesome correctional officers. There are some that, they fed into my spirit. And some of these guys were white guys. These was like white officers. Um, I had some white female officers who looked down on me, who treated me like I was crap, you know. And that was unfortunate too. It could possibly be about the case. Number two, I've never
Mhm.
been a dummy. I've always read, and so anytime where I can study the law or be on a computer and read a book about something, I would always fight a case. And so if I'm gonna be on this unit and you charge me or you write me up for something, I'm gonna go see what you wrote me up for, and I'm gonna study. Did I do what you said I did? And if I didn't, then I'm gonna write you up. You know what I mean? And so I caught a rep for that. Like, hey, he thinks he's a smart guy. He thinks he's a smart aleck, and that kind of plagued me. And but the racial disparity is very true. White guys, they get some of the better jobs. You know what I mean?
Yes.
They get some of the smoother jobs, some of the jobs that's in laundry, that's easy going, that pay some of the best money. Some of the white guys get some of the best jobs in the shops. Now it's of course they need everybody, but I can guarantee you that they're going to get some of the best jobs. At Anamosa, I would say that it's it goes by lifers. They tend to take a liking to lifers more so because they know that they're going to be here for the long run. And being in a prison like Anamosa, who has a bunch of shops, they rather let the lifers who's going to be there for a while have the jobs because they know they ain't going anywhere. They can count on them for the soap shop, the sign shop, whether it's license plates and stuff like that. So they're going to get the best jobs over there. But I got to tell you, you do feel it, in prison when it comes to like counselors handling your case or sometimes it's unfortunately when you go to health service to get medical treatment, whether it's high blood pressure or just like something as simple as a hurt. Maybe if you break something on a yard, you can go in there and it can be a disparity in there. I will admit there have been some awesome nurses that would just treat you like you human and make you
Mm,
feel like, prison does have some good people in there, but
yes.
it's unfortunate that they are plagued by disparity and race and charges. I would say charges is the thing. If you're a drug dealer, you're kind of like a kingpin, like, oh, they think you're the man in there, you're a sex offender,
Not. Yeah.
right. They have a word, they call them a chomo, and that's a
Mhm.
child molester.
Buster.
And
Mhm.
so, chomo, and then everybody thinks that you're a pedophile, you know what I mean? And they don't even know the ages of what a pedophile is. A pedophile is somebody that messes with someone that's under 13 and down, a baby, you know.
Mhm.
And then statutory rape is like, I want to say 13 or either like 13, 14, 15, 16, and being 4 years older. And I think that's the reason why the girl that was in our case, she was telling people that she was 17 because she knew 4 years older would be 21. So she just got accustomed to saying it, you know what I mean? And so she had been in a hotel room with another guy before we met her. So she was experienced at lying about her age. But when you go to prison, they don't care. Child molester, pedophile, that's exactly what they call you. They don't know anything about the case, but I tell you, they'll call you that on the yard if they feel like you a pushover and stuff like that. And some guys have gotten beaten up. If they won't check themselves out of people's rooms, they've gotten beaten up, and officers will just basically turn their back on them. So yeah. And then you have the transgender community that's in there too. So that's very big. Guys that were out here and might have been taking hormone pills, uh, changing their bodies, and this is what they believe in now. So now you're actually in prison with the guy who has breast,
Mhm.
and you have to take a shower with him, you know what I mean, next to him or being in the same, like Anamosa, everybody is in the same shower. And so
Mhm.
guys are in there having sex, and it's like a lot of times people think prison is super super bad where people are being raped. People are in there having sex, and they're having sex freely because there's men that want to have sex with men, and so it's a big mess. It's it's a really big mess. And so it's hard on your mental, it's hard on your mental. And
Yes.
so
It
one of the
is.
things that I did do is just to get around the riffraff, we call it staying out of the way. And so if somebody say, "Hey, what's up, man?" Man, just staying out the way. But it's such a true statement because what staying out the way means is that I don't do the gangs. I don't do, the transgender LGBTQ whatever community. I'm not into that. I go to church or whatever, but when it comes to the politics or the drugs, or y'all got K2, I'm out the way. You in the gang, I'm out the way. You on that, I'm out the way. And so a lot of times what I would do is I would stay in my room and I would read or I would watch like TV shows or I would just like go to school and I would do things like that. Now, fast forward to being out here for 2 years, it's hard because I cut people off all the time now. And so now I kind of like stay to myself and it's a problem with interacting with my mom. She don't understand like, well, why you so silent? You don't come up and speak, you don't talk. And to me, it's just like I just did 15 years of staying out the way. And
Mhm.
I think that everybody like that's the best way to do it. That's the best way to keep me out of trouble. That's the best way to stop me from doing this and that. And so my parole officer, she's showing me love because she was just like, she knows she don't have to worry about me. I never drop dirty. But
Mhm.
when I say I'm staying out the way, I don't ride with people. People can't ride in my car. If I go anywhere, I don't trust guys
Right.
because I don't know if you got drugs or if you got something that you're throwing on the floor. So I don't ride with you. Um, it affects
That's smart.
relationship. But and
Yeah.
then it also affects relationships. Like if I have a female friend, if we're talking, if I feel like something is going the wrong way or argument is about to happen, I stay out the way. So then all of a sudden I stop talking, and so I don't know how to fight for a relationship or a friendship. So it's just like it's so hard. It's so hard. And so I'm trying to get back to a normal life, but it's hard.
It's
It's
very
real hard.
hard.
Yeah.
Yes, it's very hard. And you're saying all the things that the public needs to hear
Yeah.
because the public does not understand any of that. I would also say that a lot of people in the public believe that a sex offender is always a pedophile.
Hmm.
They they don't understand that
Right.
there are degrees
Yeah.
of being charged
Yeah.
as a sex offender.
Hmm.
And one of the things that we're trying to do is change some of the language of that to people who have committed a crime of a sexual nature rather than calling everybody a sex offender.
Right. And
Um,
and you know something too, Sue. I love what you're doing, and I love everything that you just said when you introduced this show and the different goals and things that you're fighting for. I think Iowa definitely got it wrong with the lifetime parole. It's too much. It's too heavy. And then you want to do the lifetime registry. Because
mhm,
if you take my case, and I think if anybody's listening, anybody watching, if there's any attorney that's taking my case, I should be used as an example because in my depositions, this person literally said, yes, I lied about my age because I knew. So you just got me sent to prison because you were lying about your age. And then look at what I was doing. Iowa is beating me upside the head because you lied. Nothing happened to your mom about the consequences. And not only that, her mom came to depositions and said, hey, I can't handle her. She's the same height as her mom. She weighed more than her mom, and her mom look like twins, far as like body style. But her mom
mhm,
said she just stole money from her sister and she bought marijuana. So we called the police on her. So she got mad and she took off walking. And she was literally missing for 3 days. And the mother did not even report her missing because this is what she normally. Well, I thought she was at her grandmother's house. So you mean to tell me she been missing since Sunday night and nobody heard from her until Tuesday? And you guys, and this is good on what level? This is a 14-year-old kid and nobody is looking for her. You did not
mhm,
once call her grandmother and say, hey, is she over there? Because she hadn't been here tonight. She hasn't been home Monday. Is she at your house? Then Tuesday, you guys get a call from the police station saying she been out in a hotel hanging out with some adults, and now she's telling y'all, "Yeah, I lied to these guys because I wanted to get high, I wanted to hang out." But now all of a
mhm,
sudden, we got to go to prison, and now my life is being altered because of this. I've
mhm,
already gave you 14 years and 8 months. How much more do I got to get? I will be home 3 years. October the 19th of this year. It would be 3 years I've been home. Not one dirty drop. I've always kept the job. I haven't violated except for when the sheriff department lied on me and said I didn't register my car that's in my name that I'm making payments for and I'm legal. It's totally legal, legal insurance and everything. There's no reason why I would not register my car. That's the only trouble I've been in since I've been home.
mhm,
It's like I want to live. I want to go to different countries. I want to see cultures. I want to eat. Mary, who gave me your number, she has been doing so many awesome and
wonderful.
beautiful things for me. Listen, we just took first place in the Bayou Film Festival in February. You know,
Yes.
um,
Yeah.
she just got me a public speaking gig with Brittany Bettendorf for the University of Iowa. I go up and I speak to the graduating medical class. The people love me so much that they throw me on a panel. So this was my second year doing it. So they got me coming back every year talking to the graduating medical class about going into prison. I'm
Mhm,
trying to take lemon and make lemonade, and it's just like y'all steadily beat me in the head. It's just like, what can I do? You already prosecuted me illegally. Now you got a decade and a half off of me. You got a Scott County sheriff that's doing. It's like, when does it stop, Iowa? When does it stop? There are some good guys that's out here. When does it stop? Or are you going to continue to remind us of something that somebody might have done that they can change from? Like, are you trying to say they can't change? Well, you give drug dealers a second chance. You think that they won't go back out and sell drugs. You sometimes you give thieves or robbers a second chance. You feel like they can go out there and be reformed. But for us, they feel like no, there's no turn back, you know, and we get it. There's some horrific crimes out here. Henry Dinkins, what he did to Breasia Terrell, that's my little cousin. And so when I was in prison, my mother was out there looking for
Oh,
her. You know what I mean? And so
oh,
we get it. Um, lyric, Elizabeth and lyric, the
yes,
girls. You know what I
yes.
mean? That happened to them. Horrific. You know what I mean? But there has to be some type of. Does anybody have enough common sense or enough, legal expertise, or let's say college expertise to say, hey, this guy has proven himself to be reformed. You know what I mean? You don't have to take a whole law and bend it towards a whole group of people and punish everybody just because other people did some bad things. You don't bend that law towards everybody else. You don't bend one drug dealer and say, okay, he brought pounds of meth into the Quad Cities, vice versa. This guy only got caught up with a couple of bags of meth. You don't punish him like you punish that guy and then keep punishing them all because of this big drug lord that came in. So it's just like this is terrible. I need to be free. I want to be free totally. You know what I mean? I want to live my life. I want to be able to go out of town and, get a passport. And, I want to be able to go into schools and tell kids about what happened to me, the importance of acting your age and not talking to older guys and what can happen. There's so much human trafficking going on out here. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
That's right.
let me go back and be I'm willing to take on the face of this sex offender thing in order to turn it around. You know what I mean? Because
Mhm,
I was blessed that people didn't beat me over the head with it. And I'm so confident in myself that if you feel like that's what I am and you don't want to talk to me, deuces, because you
mhm,
don't know me and you don't obviously know what I'm capable of doing and what I'm trying to do. So I'm
mhm.
not in the business of forcing people to be in my life. So people that don't want to be in my life, thank you.
That's
Thank
fine.
you and go
Yes,
that
that's
way. You see
yeah.
what I'm saying? So it's like thank you and go that way. Get out the way. Thank you for telling me. So now I know not to just be around you because there are plenty of
Mhm,
people who love me and trust me and want to help me do better and want to see me do better. And we can work together. We don't need you. You know what I mean? That's that minute number of people. You can have your feelings and your mixed emotions and hey, you people hated Jesus. So I mean, I know I'm gonna be hated. If you can hate a person that came here to earth to save people and literally died on the cross for people's sins, according to the Christian belief, if you can hate on him, I think I can get it too. So I don't really worry about it. I just keep moving. And so, but I want to live. You know what I mean? And I think what you're doing is so awesome because you got to start with the charges and you know what I mean,
mhm.
going in behind the scenes and really investigating on what people saying, because when you do the sex offenders like that, you give a lot of power to people who put the charges on people, because that basically means that they can say anything. And when it comes to a sex offense, it's not innocent until proven guilty. You're guilty until you can prove you're innocent, you know? And so that's the thing that sucks about it.
And even when you prove you're innocent, if you carry the charge, you're still labeled.
Yeah. And I mean, my parole officer, she knows it and she treats me so good as far as that. Now, she has a job that she has to do. I have to check in. She has to
Right.
drop me. You have to go through these hoops, but she knows. She was like, Arnold, you was done wrong. She's seen the paperwork. She knows what's happening. She know what they
Mhm.
did. And it was right there. But unfortunately, we just had some judges that turned their backs. And it's just like, so who can we count on to uphold the law? You want to use the law to lock us up and make sure that we're law-abiding citizens, but who holds judges, prosecuting attorneys accountable? Who? I mean, where do we have? It's like I've never seen. I don't know. I can't say I've been arrested all over the world. Like I've lived in Indiana and Georgia, but I've never been in like major trouble, felony type trouble. So I can't really say what the legal system is like. But Iowa, oh my God, it's terrible. It is terrible. I'm It's unheard of, really. And I wish somebody would look into it. I don't know, maybe the feds or somebody would just look into it and see what's going on and try to do something about it. It's got to be a better way. It's
I
got to
agree
be.
with you. I agree with you. In a lot of situations, sex offense in particular, but
Right.
a lot of situations. And I'm a believer that these little girls should not be able to get away with
Right.
and just walk away with lying.
Right.
The same way that I agree with in life without the possibility of parole, when they have the interviews for
Mm.
commutation and the victim gets to speak, there's nobody that checks to see if what the victim is saying is accurate according to what the charges were at the time of the crime. The
Mhm.
victim can say anything about how their life is now since whatever happened to them happened and they were victimized. I've listened to probably 150 commutation interviews, and I know, because I know, I've read case files, I know that there are victims who have said things happened that were not in the actual charges
Mhm.
and that did not happen medically,
Right.
and that is not checked.
Yeah.
The board of parole just listens, and the person who is in the interview to try to get a commutation can't respond to the
Right.
victim, can't say that's not true,
Right.
that's not what's in the case file. That same kind of dynamic where victims, yes, victims need all kinds of consideration. They also need to be held accountable to truth.
Right.
They just do.
Eh,
And they need the opportunity to move on with their lives instead of holding on to their victimization as if it is their identity. That does
yes.
not do anybody any good. That doesn't do anybody any good. And I think if we did something like in this case, if we held these young girls accountable just in some way, it would give them the opportunity to stop doing that stuff.
Exactly.
Just
Yeah.
quit it. Quit doing that.
And also too, prosecuting attorneys, you know what I mean? If you do something that's illegal or outside of your frame of work, you should be held accountable
I
because,
agree.
you know, just because we won't take a plea to a charge, you mean to tell me you get away with charging us with kidnapping first degree? Do you
Mhm.
know what kind of black eye that gives a person? Because now when a
That's
person
life.
looks, yeah, and even if like even though I beat the charge, when people go back to see,
Can't
what I
look.
was arrested for, the kidnapping first degree is still there. So now all of a sudden you got people who's thinking like, man, this dude kidnapped a minor. They don't know what the outcome was. They could say, okay, well, he beat the charge. They don't know whether or not he took a plea, but it says he kidnapped a minor. And the thing
Right.
that hurted me so bad is that because I was 100% father, no matter how I acted in the streets, when it came to my kids, I went to sporting events. I did birthdays, Christmas, homework, science projects. I love my daughters. I don't want
Mhm.
anybody spending the night with my daughter thinking that it's a possibility her father could take advantage of her. You know what I mean?
Right.
Of their kid. If your kid comes and spend a night with my daughter, I want them to know that they are safe here. That I would harm
Mhm.
somebody else before I harm. You know what I mean? It's just like, but you
Mhm.
put this label on me, so now you taking away from me being a father, and you taking away from my child of who they friends could be. It's so much more that goes into it, man. That it sucks. It sucks so bad.
And the
Yeah,
families suffer
yeah. Like my
along with
kids.
the person who, yeah,
Yeah, my
yeah, that's
daughters.
right.
So
That's
now
right.
yeah, and then she suffered with her mom. Her mom was going through a phase like, oh, I heard what your dad did and stuff. And she's a daddy's girl. Like, you can't just disrespect her father like that. And so now her and her mom is having problems because, only thing she does is read the newspaper. She don't know what happened behind the scenes. And nobody does. They read the newspaper and then this is what it said. And so the newspaper print yeah, held a 14-year-old against her will inside of a hotel room. I was not
Makes you
even in.
sound like a monster.
Yeah, it makes you look
It
like a
does. It makes
monster.
you sound like a
And so
monster. And
it's
that's
like,
what the public hears, and that's what the public then thinks. And that sensationalism of crimes is, to my mind, is part of the problem. We don't hear enough about the rehabilitation and the good and the reality of crimes. We don't
yeah,
hear that. And that's the purpose of this part of this particular series. is
Right.
to get that information from people who have been through it,
Yeah.
so that the public at least has the opportunity to hear the other side of the story.
Yeah. And
But
what
they're
was
not
so
going to
sad.
hear it anywhere else.
Exactly. And what was so sad, Sue, is that we were in a hotel room, and this is another one of those common sense things. Me and my friend had left because we had families. I had a girlfriend that was like in walking distance from this hotel. He had a girlfriend and a brand new 6-month-old baby that was just like down the street the other way. We were just
Mhm,
up here partying. Me and my girlfriend had
mhm,
an argument, so we was just in a hotel. There was no other purpose. This girl came into our room from hanging out with somebody else that she had been drinking with, and so we left the hotel room, and the girl was in the room by herself. And it's just like, you ran us in the newspaper for kidnapping her. And don't you know that when I leave out of the hotel room, she can lock me out of my own room? She could put the safety bar on the door. And even though I got a key, I can't get back into that room. That she can lock me out of my own hotel room once I leave out of the
or
room.
leave,
Or
or
exact,
leave,
or call housekeeping and just say,
and leave.
hey, yeah,
Right.
or just yeah. And so it was just like, so how can you kidnap a person in a hotel room and you're not even in the room with the person? It's like it's common sense, and y'all ran it through the paper and people bought it and they ate it up. And it's just like,
Mhm.
oh my God. I was
I
at
know.
I was at Rudy's Tacos, and I was at the mall. It was like kidnapping somebody. And I'm thinking to myself, I've never held anything against this will except for maybe like a lightning bug, in a jar when I was a kid. That's the only thing I've kidnapped in my life. Like, what do you mean? I
Put it
wouldn't
in
even
a
know what to
jar.
do. Yeah, in a jar, a lightning bug. That's it. Kidnap a whole human being. Like, what am I? They gotta eat. I'm gonna get tired. I don't want to kidnap. You got to get out of here. I don't know. Like,
Yeah,
but you got, but I make light of it because it's over
I
with
know.
now. But you got people that are monsters like that, and so I get it. But you have
I
to
do
put the
too.
charges on the monster. You have to go after the monster. Don't get mad because you don't have evidence on me on this, and then say, well, I'm gonna charge you with kidnapping first degree just because you're a prosecuting attorney and you can throw charges out there like that. So you just do that with no fear of how you paint me, with no respect or no morals of what kind of perspective you put out there on me for my
Mhm.
life. And like, who might have seen that case back in 2007, who's a boss now and don't even want to hire me at a job because they still hanging that over my head, So, ah,
Well, and people don't know what to believe. I mean, they
right.
don't know what to
Yeah.
believe. And that's why getting your stories out is so important, so that they at least have the opportunity to hear the other side,
Yes,
because
ma'am.
people are afraid. I
Yeah.
mean, the public, people are afraid. People who have kids are afraid of people who
And
traffic children, and
and they should,
they
because
should be.
because
Those
I
are
have.
people that belong in prison.
Yeah, I got a grandson, and like I talk to him all the time about being conscious and being aware, because people are
Right,
snatching kids up and they're doing all types of things with them.
right,
And so you never want to take that alertness away of saying, hey, I got a baby out here and I need to be on my P's and Q's because the world is
right,
dark and it's dangerous and it's getting worse. So I get it, I understand. But prosecuting attorneys are getting away with being able to
right,
put this label on people, and you clothe
right.
people of anybody. You can do anybody like that, and it's sad. And so, one of the things that I'm just doing, Sue, I'm grateful that you invited me on here, but I'm just gonna face it head on anywhere that I can talk about it in any way I can, because
Good.
you have to have both sides of the coin. People have to be
Yes, you
able to
do.
see it,
Yes.
and that's it. That's all we can
And
do.
I'm really grateful. I'm very, very grateful that you agreed to do this and to share
uh
your story. It's very powerful and it's very important for people to hear.
Thank you.
And if you know of any other people who are willing to tell their story, whatever it may be, please let them know about this, and that I welcome that. I
Right.
want people's stories. I want that. That's what
Yeah.
we need, the public needs.
Right. And
So,
my co-defendant, he's locked up right now, and hopefully, like, when he gets out, maybe I might be able to get him to get on here, because we're definitely fighting. This situation happened in like 2007, and he's still being locked up for failure to register. Now, okay, he can't get it right on the other side of doing drugs, but he ain't out here messing with minors. You know what I mean? That wasn't his thing. And
Right.
even the night that he met her in the hotel room, you know what I mean? She postponed it to, I mean, to be somebody else. She came off as somebody else. And so, I won't speak on what happened between him and her. But he's still being punished and he took the plea. You took the plea to 10 years and you still being punished. You know what I mean? And it's just
Yes.
like, and basically because he got charged with kidnapping first degree. And so uh one of the things I didn't mention, this is how corrupt the prosecuting attorneys was. What they did is they got him to take a plea to sex abuse third, scared him with the kidnapping first degree. He was like,
Huh.
I'm not going, man, my baby, Brianna, she's 6 months old. I can't go face kidnapping first degree, and with us, his mom being
Oh,
from
yes.
Chicago, we're being from Indiana, you know what I mean? And most of our parents coming from the South. When they say kidnapping first degree that carries life, the first thing they say, man, you better take that plea. You better not go to trial and go against that. They're gonna lock you up for life. And he thinking like, for life. I
Mhm.
won't even see my daughter. So even if I take this plea, then the prosecuting attorney said, well, or the public defender said, well, you'll probably do like about 8 months, or you come home, you'll be home in this time. He didn't tell you about how they'll keep picking with your life. He figured like at least I'll be home before my daughter turns 5 and I can be in her life. That's the only
Mhm.
thing he's thinking about. You see what I'm saying? He didn't have any money. My father came up with some money to get an attorney, and so we tried to fight it. And so, but he took the plea and now he's still being locked up. And you think 2007, oh, that's been like what? Okay, 2017 is 10 years with another 7. It's 17 years.
Mhm.
And we still, you know what I mean? It's like he's
He's
still
still,
going
yeah.
back and forth. It's like it's been 17 years and you still beating him up for this
Mhm.
because he has maybe like a drinking problem or some other type of problem. It's like, oh my God, like it's terrible. But no, what I was going to tell you though is that what she did to Mike, once she got Mike to take the plea, she ran an article in the newspaper and she said that Michael Jefferson was going to testify against me in the kidnapping first degree. So when it was time to go to court for the kidnapping first degree, the judge literally says, he says, KW testimony is debatable, saying that it's kind of fabricated. She told 5 different stories. He says, however, Michael Jefferson took a plea and he has agreed to testify against the matter of kidnapping first degree. Therefore, we will proceed to trial. Right before trial, my attorney comes in and tells me and says, well, I got some good news for you. Michael Jefferson is not going to testify. So I'm thinking, well, I'm finna go home because you just told me the only reason why
Mhm.
the case didn't get dismissed is that he was going to testify against me. So right
Mhm.
before trial, they say, well, Michael Jefferson is not going to testify. Do you know once I got to court and I lost the court case, I had an attorney send me all the paperwork from everything. And do you know in July 14th of 2007, when Michael seen himself in a newspaper saying that he was going to testify against me, he had a motion of something that he filed to the courts, and he says, "I don't have any evidence of kidnapping first degree. I don't know. I wasn't in the room." He was like, "So I didn't know that that was a part of my plea. I thought I was taking a plea not to have to fight kidnapping first degree. Now you saying I got to testify against him in kidnapping? I don't know what he did. I wasn't in the room." So they basically was just lying. They lied to
Right.
him. He can't read. So one of the things that I seen him struggle with in prison was with getting his GED. So therefore, he can't even read a plea bargain. When he wrote me a statement saying that only reason why I took the plea is because prosecuting attorney Julie Walton threatened me with kidnapping first degree, and I didn't want to take a trial. I didn't want to take a chance of going to jail for life. You should have seen the way that he misspelled words and the way that he wrote it. He can't even spell, and
Right.
you took advantage of this guy. This guy didn't even
Exactly.
have a
Exactly.
GED. You dig what I'm saying? He didn't even have a GED. He can't even read or write, and you took advantage of him. And he's
It's
still
tragic.
and he's still
And
being
he's still
punished.
paying. And
He's
he's
still being
still paying
punished every single time he make a
every
mistake. He's being punished.
Yep,
You know what I mean? And
I do.
I gotta admit, he's from Chicago, and so he's an angry guy. He's got a temper. And when I seen him and we did laps, and it's like he know deep down in his heart what he did. You know what I mean?
Right. That
And he
doesn't mean
know.
he doesn't have a conscience and he doesn't have
Right.
values.
But at the same
I think
time,
you gave
like I try to tell
it
him, and I gave him a copy of the depositions where she said she lied about his age because he never seen that. His attorney told him not to go to depositions because she had gave a report that says that he was like 6'3" or something. And so she had the wrong description. So he tricked him out of going into depositions and then tricked him into signing the plea. And so it's just like there was that thing, like you talked about what your daughter said,
tragic.
public
Yep,
defender getting him to
tragic.
take the plea, let her
Take the
charge him with
plea
the high
and get it
charges,
over with.
and then
Yep,
boom, take the best plea. The best plea you're gonna get is this
the
sex
best
abuse
plea you
third
can
for the
get.
10 years. You want to go face life or you want to face the 10 years? If anybody that's watching, can you see the disparity in that? You charging me with life, even me. They said, okay, you charging me with kidnapping first degree, but Mr. Grice, you can take this sex abuse third, which carries 10 years until you walk into the courtroom. But the time that you walk into the courtroom, the sex abuse third is off the table for the 10 years. In my heart, I'm thinking, if you saying that I did something, I kidnapped somebody that's worthy of life, you're not finna give me 10 years.
Right.
You're not finna give
I
me
agree.
10 years. I'm
I
not
agree.
getting 10 years. I might get second degree kidnapping, first degree, which I mean, second degree kidnapping, which is a 50-year, 85-year sentence. You might give me 34. All right. You don't want to go and do life. You better take this 50 and do 85% of that, which is like 34 years or something like that. But you're not finna give me 10. So somebody's lying somewhere. Somebody is doing something
Somewhere.
wrong.
Yep,
Life 10. Like, nah, I'm going to trial.
yep,
I'm going to trial. You ain't finna just take my life like that. And I paid. I wound up doing 14 years and 8 months. But at the end of the day, no, this is wrong. And judge, you should have seen it was wrong. You know what I mean? Somebody should have seen that that was wrong. You know?
and you're doing all the right things now, and
Yeah.
that's what really
Yeah.
counts.
Yeah.
And I really wanna thank you very much for
Yeah.
your
Thank you.
time and for your honesty and for all the work that you're doing and for making people giving people the chance to become aware
Yeah.
of how the system works in situations. So, um, we're
Thank
gonna
you.
have to close for now.
Okay. But
Maybe
I'm
we can get
thankful.
together again.
Yeah,
Maybe
anytime that you wanna talk, you just let me know and send me the Zoom and I'll show up. I just want to say thank you again for letting me get a chance to just tell my side of the story. And it's people
thank
like
you.
you and Mary, that keeps us the ones that's trying to change and do something better, to have good people like you in our corner that's supporting us and helping us to get out here and tell our stories and just giving us a second chance. I
Yes,
salute you because it's the fuel that I use to keep going, to making sure that I got, you know what I mean? Now I just added one. I got Sue Hutchinson in my corner and she's counting
yes.
on me to win. So I can't let you down. You know what I
Right,
mean? And so that's
right.
how that goes.
Yes,
All right.
yes. And thank you very, very much.
Okay. God bless you. Have a good
Yeah.
day, Sue.
God bless you too.
All right.
And for those of you who have listened, please comment. Please contact me at Iowa Prison Perspectives at gmail.com. And that's IA Prison Perspectives at gmail.com. And thank you very much for listening. And thank you ahead of time for your comments. And if you have anybody who you believe ought to be interviewed, or if you yourself would like to be interviewed, please let me know. Thank you very much for joining and have a good rest of your day. And I hope I will see you soon. Take care. Bye for now.